Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Jim and Rob Overanalyze Movies, a very special episode. Um, Starting with the question, what does what does this movie want? What does this movie want from us? I have some thoughts. That's right, everyone. I'm going to be talking about the voice of Hind Rajab. Easily one of the most upsetting films I've seen since Sarah Polley's Women Talking. But with that film, I felt the filmmakers wanted the audience, well, to be honest, the men in the audience, to listen and reflect. I'll put a link later, see our review and very brief comments here. Um, but I'm pretty sure Kauthar Benhenia, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, wants something different from her audience for this film. Now, this isn't a review per se. Jim and I will be doing our deep dive soon, the next few weeks. What I want to talk about here, though, is what I think are the film's three big whys. And especially the most important why, the one the film doesn't make any reference to at all. And I think that's intentional. But before we get into it, let's set the stage. The Voice of Hind Rajab is a docudrama about the last few hours of Hind Rajab, Palestinian girl murdered by the IDF during their most recent attempt to ethnically cleanse Gaza. The film is told from the perspective of Red Crescent workers in their office in the West Bank. They get an emergency call from 6-year-old Hind, trapped in a car under IDF fire. They try to keep her alive on the line and safe while they work to get her rescued. The conceit of the film is that while these very real workers are portrayed by actors, Benhenia uses the actual call recordings of Hind and her family calling into these people during the day. And as horrible as it is to hear that dead girl's voice, I appreciate this. It grounds us to what actually happened that day, and this helps us connect to what I believe is the emotional core of the story, how these Red Crescent workers struggle to save this girl, even though they know they're likely to fail. That while they stumble, they never really give up. But where does that leave us in the audience? It's not a news piece. We already know what happened. What does Benhenia and her collaborators want from us? Well, it's been said before, films are emotion machines. So let's talk about a couple of those emotions. After the film, I asked my co-host Jim how he felt, and the first word out of his mouth was impotence. And that got me. How could we not feel that? The dramatic irony of the film is, you know what those workers don't, that they will not rescue this little girl. And it is this sense of impotence that I think Benhenia wants us to feel, the same sense that many people in the world feel when subjected to imperialist violence. And I think she wants us to feel it. I think she wants us to struggle with it, just like the workers in the film and real life did and still do. Remember, the Israeli war on Gaza has not stopped, nor has the Palestinian Red Crescent Society stopped trying to save its victims. And that leads me to another emotion we felt watching this film, and that is sorrow. We feel the sorrows of these workers. and of Hind's family. And I believe, yeah, the filmmakers wanted this for us too, as audience members, especially, I think here in the West. People, the thing is, sharing our sorrows is part of what makes us human, and it also builds empathy. And because at least I feel films are empathy machines too, that leads me to talk about the one more why that was conspicuous in its absence. See, the thing is, the vast majority of films produced within the capitalist mode of production tend to provide a complete narrative, including a satisfying ending that demands very little of its audience other than attendance. For instance, Andor, one of the most subversive pieces of big budget art to come out in the last 25 years, and dare I say, maybe to ever come out of Disney, exposes what is happening in our times with a frightening accuracy, remarkably true to life. And I'll put a link up here for a great conversation I had with a revolutionary Marxist, a communist. Came on the show, and we did a kind of deep dive, a deep analysis of Andor from that perspective. But here's the thing. Does Andor demand anything of its audience? And I would say no. It's too busy giving its lead character a satisfying ending. Enough, in my opinion, satisfying enough to want us to come back and repeat the experience. But that's about it. Which is, folks, why my next video is going to be Andor and No Kings, what we can learn about each through the other. Anyway, but the voice of Hind Rajab is no Andor. We're left with no satisfying ending, no catharsis, no heroic march into destiny, no call to action. And that, to me, is the film's genius. Because when I got home, I felt that lack. That impotence Jim talked about, that sorrow and that lack of a call to action, and I wanted to do something. Because we can have all the emotions and all the empathy, but what's the point if we don't act in solidarity with our fellow workers, our fellow human beings, to change things? So, what did I do, you ask, other than make this video? That's a great question, insightful viewer. First, because the day of reckoning for these who are committing these crimes will eventually come, but sooner is better. I donated 10 euros. Let me see if I can bring them up here. Yeah, 10 euros to the Hind Rajab Foundation. These folks, as it says right there, demanding accountability, seeking justice, devoted to breaking the cycle of Israeli impunity and achieving justice for all the victims of the Gaza genocide. Basically, folks, they're using every legal means at their disposal to identify and bring these ghouls to justice. And I think that's worth at least 10 euros of my money. Well, 16 Canadian dollars, because, America has to have its war. And that's not America. That's the oligarchs who need their war. What else? They're kind of, so links to them and the Palestinian Red Crescent Society. You can donate to either or both. Links are in the description. Another thing I think is really important to note This didn't start on October 7th, 2023. And although I like to think I'm reasonably familiar with history, I felt I could use a bit more historical context. I reached out to a close friend, a committed activist in the local Free Palestine movement, and she recommended I read Rashid Khalidi's The 100 Years' War on Palestine, A History of Settler Colonialism and Resistance, 1917 to 2017. Because it's good when the title's, takes up half the cover. Now, of course, folks, I am a Marxist of these parts, so I also got Palestine and Marxism by Joseph Dayer, a Syrian academic. And I'm looking forward to digging into this as well. These books and other recommended reading are also linked in the description. And then, of course, finally, folks, it's not just about Palestine. And because it's not just about Palestine, I'm attending a education and solidarity event organized by the Manitoba-Cuba Solidarity Committee. Also linked below. Go into that after I shoot this video, as a matter of fact. Now, if you're new to this stuff and maybe don't see how they're connected, I get that. There's another book I recommend, even though I'm not exactly, I'd say, a fan of the author, but it's Understanding Capitalism by Richard Wolff. Because here's the thing, folks. What connects the Palestinian struggle for freedom, the criminal war on Iran, the immoral blockade of Cuba, and even the day-to-day struggles of me and my neighbors here in one of the poorest neighborhoods of one of the poorest electoral districts in Canada. And here, just so you don't think I'm making that up. Yeah, there's Winnipeg Center. I'm in at the point on the right-hand side of the screen. Ranking Canada, 333rd poorest in household income, poorest in the country. That's the bottom 2%. Yeah. So where was I? Oh, right. Yeah. That's the thing. What connects all these folks? And yes, colonialism precedes this, as does patriarchy and racism, but they've all been co-opted by the capitalist mode of production. And that's what connects all these struggles. And that, dear viewer, is what I believe we need to fight, regardless of the front, regardless of which border you're behind. Here's the enemy. So that's what I did.